Excellent driving characteristics, a very spacious interior, and exceptionally fuel-efficient engines. These are three features that the fourth-generation Ford Focus has boasted since its launch. The car will soon be withdrawn from sale, so let's see what used examples have to offer. The fourth-generation Ford Focus debuted in 2018 and underwent a number of minor changes throughout its production run. In this article, we'll focus on the model produced until its latest facelift in October 2021. At this point, it's difficult to talk about younger models which have featured numerous new technologies. From the outset, the Ford Focus was offered as a 5-door hatchback and station wagon. Over time, a sedan designed primarily for Asian markets appeared in some markets. In Poland, the sedan was offered from 2020 and quickly disappeared from the lineup. Among the body styles, there's also a separate active line, distinguished by its crossover styling and slightly higher ground clearance due to larger wheel diameters. The active was available as both a hatchback and a station wagon. The Saint line is also worth mentioning. It featured a slightly stiffer and lower suspension, as well as different bumpers and a spoiler. The car looks almost like the sporty Focus Street. In 2021, the model underwent its first and last major facelift for cars from the 2022 model year, which included not only visual improvements, but also a completely redesigned dashboard with a larger screen and touchscreen controls and a new engine lineup. The engine lineup underwent some changes in mid-2020, ready for the refreshed Focus. At that time, hybridization of the EcoBoost engines was implemented. The hatchback measures just under 4.4 meters in length, while the Estate is 4.67 meters. The wheelbase is the same in both variants, 2.7 meters. The chassis is common to the Focus and Kuga. The Focus retained its original character and remained one of the best, if not the best, handling models in its class. Importantly, however, it's not just about dynamic driving, but also about everyday driving. In my opinion, no other compact car on the market offers such a good combination of comfort, stability, and predictability in corners. The Focus also has few rivals in terms of interior space. There's plenty of room in the front and rear, even for very tall passengers. Compared to its predecessor, the new Focus's gains in space are largely due to improved interior layout, thinner seatbacks, a less expansive dashboard, and center tunnel. Unfortunately, the quality of materials and workmanship has dropped significantly. In retrospect, it's safe to say that in 2018, Ford already showed what awaited customers of other brands in the future with the new Focus. The decline in interior quality has consistently affected other manufacturers. In my opinion, the 2018 Focus Mk4 was roughly on par with today's Dacia Duster. The exception is the Vignale version, which demonstrated high build quality. However, what I remember most about the new Focus is its quietness, which I consider above average. I had no complaints about the driving position and particularly appreciated the practical features, e.g. the heated windshield, and the driver assistance features, lane keeping. Returning to space, the hatchback's trunk ranges from 358 to 392 liters, depending on whether a spare tire or tire repair kit is fitted. The trunk can also be 273 or 341 liters, respectively, with the B&O sound system with or without the spare tire. Without going into details and numbers, the Focus hatchback's trunk is large, while the wagon's is very large, from 593 to 635 liters with or without the spare tire, or from 541 to 575 liters with the B&O sound system. From a technical perspective, the Focus Mk4 wasn't revolutionary in any way. It was the first C-segment model to which PSA introduced active driver assistance systems, which is why the steering system is electric. It was also one of the first compacts from 2017 to feature an 8-speed automatic transmission. Otherwise, it's a simple and classic design. McPherson strut front suspension, a torsion beam rear axle, no four-wheel drive, and no bells and whistles like adaptive dampers. Even the sporty GTI model didn't have these. Initially, the engine lineup was quite modest, but it evolved over time. Let's focus on the cars before the major facelift. Among the petrol engines, we have the 1.0 EcoBoost with 85, 100, and 125 horsepower, and from 2020, the 1.0 EcoBoost Hybrid, mild hybrid, with 155 horsepower. The larger 1.5 EcoBoost engine was offered in 182 horsepower and a tuned 150 horsepower variant. In reality, the lower-powered engine only had a cut torque curve in the upper rev range. Both engines are 3-cylinder, turbocharged, and feature direct fuel injection. After the facelift, the 1.5 EcoBoost and the hybrid variant of the 1.0 engine were discontinued. The diesel range consisted of 2 units, the smaller one, 1.5 EcoBlue, and the larger 2.0 EcoBlue. The smaller engine produced 95 or 120 horsepower, while from the 2022 model year onwards, it only produced 115 horsepower. The larger engine was available with 150 or 190 horsepower, but the more powerful version was only available as the Focus Street. The petrol version of the sporty Focus has a 2.3 EcoBoost engine with 280 horsepower. Several transmissions were available with these engines. All manuals have 6 speeds, while automatics have 7 or 8 speeds. 7-speed automatics were paired with the 1.0 EcoBoost Hybrid and 2.3 street engines and are dual-clutch transmissions. 8-speed gearboxes, however, were paired with non-hybrid EcoBoosts and all diesels. What stands out is the gear selector lever or knob. In short, the lever denotes a dual-clutch transmission, while the knob denotes a classic 8-speed automatic. For pure driving, the best engines are the 1.0 EcoBoost Petrol and 1.5 EcoBlue Diesel. These modest units do the job well, providing at least 120 horsepower. The 100 horsepower EcoBoost is more or less okay, while the 85 horsepower is a bit sluggish. The 125 horsepower variant seems to be the optimal petrol engine and, in my opinion, better than the 150 horsepower 1.5 EcoBoost. It uses less fuel, drives almost the same, and revs more readily. If you want more power, I suggest choosing the 1.5 EcoBoost with 182 horsepower or the 2-liter diesel. Fuel consumption is another major advantage of the Focus Mk4. The 1.0-liter petrol engine with 125 horsepower averages about 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, while the 1.5X Bytes uses about a liter more. If the cars were paired with an automatic transmission, you can add 0.5 to 1 liter per 100 kilometers to the fuel consumption. The 1.5 EcoBlue diesel is exceptionally economical, averaging around 5 to 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers depending on driving style. But with relaxed motorway driving, you can get down to 4 liters per 100 kilometers. The 2-liter diesel is a bit more fuel efficient, but this is more dictated by driving style than pure efficiency and requires 6 to 7 liters per 100 kilometers. The most interesting engine in the Focus range is the 1.5-liter diesel, a blue HDI design from Stellantis. Despite the difference in displacement, Stellantis 1,499 cc, Ford 1,498 cc, this engine was produced in collaboration with Ford to such an extent that many components in Citroën, Peugeot, and Opel vehicles feature the distinctive Fomaco logo, used to identify genuine Ford parts. This engine has only one major drawback related to the short timing chain connecting the camshafts. Before the facelift, it was 7 millimeters wide and susceptible to damage. Its condition is very difficult to verify. If it breaks, the risk of serious engine damage is enormous. Therefore, it's worth replacing it with a new one immediately after purchasing the car. A timing belt kit with chain costs between 170 and 210 euros. The 2-liter diesel is a completely original Ford design and, unfortunately, not entirely successful. The timing belt is immersed in an oil bath and should theoretically be replaced every 10 years and 240,000 kilometers. Those who follow this recommendation could end up paying dearly for a replacement, not just for the timing belt, but for the engine itself. There have been reports of belts breaking or skipping, as well as oil contamination, although in this case, the blame should be placed more squarely on the owners themselves, who change their oil every 20,000 kilometers or less. It's recommended to replace the timing belt, including the cover, every 100,000 kilometers at most. This isn't a simple or inexpensive operation. A genuine timing belt replacement kit costs around €330, and the labor costs around the same. The 1.0 and 1.5 EcoBoost engines have a modified design compared to those used in earlier models. Both now feature a timing chain instead of a belt in an oil bath. The belt remains in the oil pump drive. And the 1.5 engine is now a 3-cylinder engine, previously a 4-cylinder engine in this generation of Focus. Both feature a cylinder deactivation system. The smaller petrol engine no longer suffers from a fraying timing belt, but the belt remains in the oil bath, so replacement is recommended every 100,000 to 120,000 kilometers. These engines are generally durable, but require regular oil changes every 10,000 to 15,000 kilometers and good quality oil.